As you can tell by the grille, this week I am driving a Lexus, and this happens to be the Lexus TX, which is the all-new three-row SUV from the brand. And this kind of goes head-to-head with, I suppose we'll say that, the Toyota Grand Highlander. They're built on the same platform, they have a couple of the same powertrains, and they have a lot of similar things going on, especially when you look at the high-end trim of the Grand Highlander. Now, as luck would have it, I have the TX this week, and in a couple of weeks I'm going to have the Grand Highlander, so what I'm going to do in the video is just kind of do a little bit of a comparison between the two SUVs, and what I specifically would like to show you is what is on the Lexus TX that the Grand Highlander does not have. And then at the end, we'll talk a little bit about whether or not the price is worth it. So I'm Jill Ciminillo with Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk. Let's take a closer look right now. All right, before we step inside and talk about some of the differences there, I just want to kind of take a quick look at the exterior, because this right here is probably going to be the singular thing that could potentially be a deal breaker for people who are buying Lexus TX. And we'll get a good front-on look at this, because that is the grille and it's a little bit polarizing. So yeah, that Lexus TX, you're going to have this grille, but you know, I like the daytime running lights, the headlights, the fog lights. I don't know, I think this looks nice. It doesn't bother me. I'm okay with the way the grille is. You have some really nice wheels here, and walking around to the back, you can see that we are driving the TX 350 all-wheel drive. So this has 275 horsepower and 317 pound-feet of torque. So this is a non-hybrid powertrain, and I'll give you some driving impressions, but I have to admit, I'm not really a fan. Now, in addition to the design differences you are going to notice between the TX and the Grand Highlander, there are a couple of features that this vehicle has that the other does not, and we'll just start with these modular cup holders. So these can be removed. So there's like a little button right here, and you can press that and it comes out, and what that does is it allows you to free up this space for storage. So this would probably fit a medium-sized purse if you took out both of these modular cup holders. And then you could just use your bottle holder in the door for that, you know, to hold your beverages. Okay, maybe not a can of soda, but a sport water bottle would be good there. So you can take these out, and you can also move them around, because you'll notice you have some there, and then there's a space actually in the third row, and we'll get to that, where you can put these in there as well. And then you can just very easily kind of pop them right back into place when you want to use them. So this is going to be something that is on the TX that is not on the Grand Highlander. And I don't know. I mean, useful, not useful, interesting, not interesting. It's a feature. It's a feature that's available on the TX. Now, there is also some safety stuff on the TX that you are not going to see on the Grand Highlander as well. And I'm just going to zoom in here, because all of this is your standard safety equipment that you are going to see on the TX. And it is turn-offable, so if you don't want something, you can turn it on or turn it off. And you have this brake support, so rear braking, and then you have the intuitive park assist, which is going to be the sounds, you know, the beeping that you'll hear. Now, something else you're not going to see on the Grand Highlander is going to be this right here. And this is like a digital latch to get in and out of the vehicle. And depending on your perspective, you may want or not want this, because it's not a door handle like you would normally use it. So you literally just kind of press this button and the door opens. There is if like the digital latch isn't working, there is a little bit of an emergency release here, and in order to get it to open, as you can see, there's red on the top, you have to pull it twice and then the door will open. But the Grand Highlander is going to have more of a regular door handle rather than this digital latch. And it's hilarious because I've been watching my husband get in and out of this car for a week now, and he doesn't understand the digital latch. And I'm like, dude, do you want me to tell you how to open the door? And he's like, no, I got it. Of course. And he keeps doing this. And then he's annoyed the fact that he has to hit it twice in order to get the door open. And I was like, all right, I'm not going to help you. So since I already did that, we will get out. And the other thing I'm going to show you is you have like a digital latch essentially on the outside of the vehicle as well. So to get in and out of the vehicle, instead of, again, a real door handle, it's just like a little touchpad under here that allows you to open the door. And then that also helps when you are locking, because then you can just touch this right here and it locks. And I'm going to point out, I really like the fact that you have the passive entry on all of the doors. So you can have the key in your pocket and walk up and open the rear door without unlocking the front door. That makes me happy. So yeah, just another look at this digital latch. Now, what this also does is there is a camera on this side mirror, and if it notices a car coming up in the blind spot, it won't allow you to open the door. It just kind of protects you. It's like a door open assist kind of thing. So moving into the second row, yep, you have the digital latch right here too, as well as the emergency pull in case the digital latch doesn't work for some reason. Now, one of the things that is also on the TX that is not going to be on the Grand Highlander is the way that you move these seats to get into the back row. Okay, yeah, if you're agile or small like I am, you can just climb through the captain's chairs. But there's actually a button right here that you push that very easily and cleanly moves these seats forward, so you don't have to deal with like a latch or a lever or something like that to try and access the second row or the third row. And I definitely appreciate that because sometimes those, especially one-handed, if you're trying to do something one-handed, it's hard. But you do have this nice little step here so that you can get back into the third row, and that's a pretty large opening. So we're gonna climb back here, and because I'm in the city, hold on for a moment, I'm gonna shut the door. So I really like the fact that Lexus has only put 2 seats back here, and they've got this really nice ultra suede that transfers into the third row. I really like that. That's classy. A lot of times people completely cheap out on the third row, and you just, have icky stuff back here and bad materials. But this is pretty well padded and a nice material. And okay, so that seat is pushed forward, but you have, you don't see this a lot in third rows, but this kind of bumps up a little bit. And while it's not completely behind my knees, it is actually giving me some really good support. And so we'll come over here, and this seat is in the far back position. And you can see, like, my feet are not trapped. Okay, granted, I have like a size 5 women's shoe, but my feet are not trapped. And I have about 3 inches between, my knee and the back of the seat. So I really appreciate that. You have USB charge ports back here. You have a large window, so you're not going to feel claustrophobic back here. And another USB port there. Oh, and this is also worth pointing out. When you climb back here, this is a little handhold that you can kind of pull yourself in. Plus, you have this right here, which can recline your seat. And then, as I was pointing out, you have these modular cup holders, which you can move, and looks like it goes in that space right there. So you could put something here, but this, you can borrow one of the modular cup holders if somebody isn't using this, and then you can put it back here, and you can actually hold an open beverage, so like a can of soda, coffee back here, and it's got the little grippy things so that it won't spill. So modular cup holders that will move, and plenty of leg room, and only 2 seats, really nice materials, and actually just comfortable. And yeah, I generally like the way the TX and the interior looks. I like the way it feels. I like the textures and the materials. And I like some of the clever features. I mean, this in itself, the little button to move the seat, that is just a nice little finishing touch that you're not going to see in the Grand Highlander. So let's go back to the Grand Highlander, and we'll see if there's any features in that the TX doesn't get. All right, now it is time to move to the Toyota Grand Highlander, and this is going to be a top-tier platinum trim with all-wheel drive. So this is as high as you can go, fully loaded, lots of good stuff on this vehicle, yet there are still some pretty big differences going on. And yeah, we should just start with the grille. This is also pretty bold and obnoxious and kind of polarizing, so it just depends on your flavor of obnoxious that you want. Do you want the stripes that go across that you will see on the TX, or do you want more of this like trapezoidal fish-facey thing that's going on from Toyota? But this right here on the exterior of the vehicle is going to be the biggest difference. We'll do a quick walk around and you'll see from the side, from the back, same. So let's go look at it. All right, in addition to the grille, obviously the headlights are going to be different. You're going to have a different set of wheels that are happening here, but they're still pretty high level and they look really good. But the overall side profile really is the same shape as what you're going to see on the TX, and so that isn't going to be terribly different. Taillights are going to be different, and obviously the badging that you see on the back is going to be different. Lexus has the light that goes across and it says Lexus really big on the back. It doesn't necessarily give you the big model name, whereas this says Grand Highlander here. It even tells you the trim platinum. And all right, yep, this is going to be the other big difference that we see on this specific vehicle, because we have the hybrid powertrain. In the TX, we did not. And if you'll remember, I didn't really like that powertrain very much. This Hybrid Max powertrain is really, really good. So it delivers 362 horsepower and it is seamless horsepower. So when you start it up and when you go from an off the line stop, it moves. It moves. There's no stutter, there's no lag, there is nothing that's going to prevent you from, well, moving forward. And it's smooth, seamless power, it's quiet. The transition between hybrid and gasoline is also pretty awesome. So, all right, yes, the interior, very, very different as well. Now you do still have this panoramic moonroof and you have some nice suede materials on the seats, but you'll remember on the TX, we had the suede materials on the bolsters and the leather on the interior, but this is kind of reversed. And I will say, I like this color a lot better, and not an option on the TX. So if you want something that is more in this warmer hue, this was not an option on the TX. You get like gray, and maybe black. But I like this kind of butternut color, brown. I don't know. I like it. All right, so we'll just power it on, because this is also going to be another really big difference. You have essentially two areas of digital display, whereas the Lexus was more of a contiguous design. Now, this kind of pops up out over the dash and it looks a little less fitted with the design. But I don't think it looks bad. It's just, it's different. And depending on what your design preference is, yeah, that could sell you. That could sell you right there. Now, because this is the Max powertrain, you're going to notice some bronze accents around the steering wheel, on the air vents. You'll see it on the gear shift and also, in different places around the vehicle. I like the bronze accents. I think it looks really high end. I think it looks really good. And overall, going from interior to interior, it's just going to be a design preference. The materials are pretty quality. I will say this is a little, it's rubbery. It's not plastic, but it's kind of rubbery. It's not leather, but I like the stitching. I like this little tray that you have here that you don't have on the TX for you to set your phone, and there's a charger right there for the passenger. I appreciate that. You've got your charger right here. And I will say, I don't like this charging setup that Toyota has gone with because it doesn't hold your phone in. This is plastic. If it were a rubberized material, if there were grippers somewhere that would hold your phone in, that would be great. But I noticed getting on ramps and off ramps, my phone kind of slid around, and that annoyed me. Modular cup holders, you don't have those in the Toyota Grand Highlander. You have this little cup holder system here. This, to the best of my knowledge, does not move, but you've got a little well here for keys or things like that. And then instead of that split folding, open armrest, you've got a little armrest here that kind of moves like that. So still have a place for you to put your elbow and your passenger put their elbow when you are opening and closing, but it's just a little bit of a different operation. And I'll be honest, this feels pretty solid. Sometimes when you have this center opening area, it feels cheap, and Toyota did a good job of making this feel solid. So again, I'm going to point out to you, this is the top tier platinum trim for the Grand Highlander. So a lot of these finishing touches and things that you see on this are not going to be available at your base trims. And I will tell you, at a more basic level in the Grand Highlander, the materials are kind of cheap. And they feel cheap, they look cheap, and yeah, they kind of smell cheap. But this platinum trim is totally primo, and I'm loving everything. Let's go into the back seat really quick. So you also have a captain's chair package in this vehicle with the center console, and this is removable, so you can take this out and it becomes a little pass-through or a step-through for the third row. You have your heated and cooled rear seats as well as climate control, so you can control the temperature as well as the airflow. You've got USB-C charge ports back there. So all of that, it looks different. It definitely looks different. I think this looks a little bit less high-end, but I think it still looks good. Now, the big difference, there's two really big differences that you're going to notice here as you go into the third row. And the first is how you access the third row. So you have this lever or latch that you have to pull on this seat to access the third row. If you'll remember, when we were in the Lexus TX, there was a button, and it was very easy, and it moved forward, and it was pretty accessible and easy to operate. A child would be able to operate that no problem. Now, I always say I'm about the size of your average 10-year-old, and I'm not going to have a problem reaching this, but that's a little bit stiff. So, all right, we didn't have that up, but then you have to kind of use physical force to push that forward, whereas again, in the TX, it just kind of, you hit the button and it whoop, moved all on its own. You do have this big step here that's going to be nice and easy for somebody to put their foot in, and then you have a handhold right here so you can pull yourself into the seat. So that's going to be easy, and then, all right, we're just going to shut myself in here. And then you come and you sit back here, and you do have, this is in the far back position. So we had a similar situation when we were looking at the TX. This is going to be a little bit close and a little bit tight, but there are slides, so you can have some negotiation between this passenger and that passenger and this passenger to make sure that everybody has enough legroom. That would be the benefit of having kind of an extended wheelbase. Everybody has legroom. Everybody has legroom. So cup holders back here. You have your USB-C charge port, and you have your USB charge port over there, more cup holders. And again, even though this panoramic roof doesn't come all the way back here, you have nice wide open airiness that feels pretty good. And you have large side windows, so you're not going to feel like you are closed in or claustrophobic. Now, similarly, when you're trying to get out, as you can see, you have this right here that you're going to have to flip up, so no button, which makes this just a little bit more difficult to get in and out of, but I don't know, it's not a huge problem. It's just different. All right, before I leave the third row, there is another really big difference that I want to talk about on the Grand Highlander versus the TX, and that is this right here. They actually intend to put 3 people in this third row, and the TX only has seat belts for 2. So that means they have a wider seat on both sides for the third row passenger. And here, okay, so I'm sitting in the middle seat. You can see there's a headrest. I've pushed it up. So I'm sitting in the middle seat here. My shoulders come to here. So like in the middle of the side bolsters of each of these seats. If I move over here, I'm going to be overlapping because my shoulder comes to the middle bit there. So I'm small. I'm the size of an average 10-year-old. If I've not said that before in this video, let me reiterate, I'm 5 feet tall. I'm small. And if 3 of me cannot fit here, this is a bad idea. I hate it. I hate it when automakers do this. So, okay, if you have to put 3 people back here, there are 3 seat belts. This is a very, very occasional 3-row, third row. You will have plenty of leg room. And again, I can kick my feet up into the center here and I'm going to be like gloriously sprawled. But in terms of my hip and my shoulder room, this is very cramped. So not a third row for 3 people. Not. It's just not. Don't do it. And the final thing I want to point out is the seating surfaces back here. If you remember, the TX had the suede material and they brought the accents all the way through to the third row. They did not do that in the Grand Highlander. They kind of cheaped out back here in terms of the surface materials. There's no suede stuff. There's no trimming accents. This is just plain old cheaped out seating surfaces. So that's another area that is going to be different in this vehicle. Now, before we go back to the TX and go into driving impressions, there's one more really big thing that is going to be different on the Grand Highlander over the TX, and that is going to be this right here, your door handles. So you have a regular door handle here. Again, regular door handle, not a door latch, on the inside, and it is going to be the same with the exterior. You have a regular door handle. So if you'll remember on the TX, there was like a touchpad on the underside of the door handle that just kind of popped the door open. You don't have any of the digital stuff on the Grand Highlander, so that could actually be a bonus for you. If you don't like the digital latch, if you think that that is problematic and stupid, yeah, real door handles in the Grand Highlander. Now, before we get into some brief driving impressions, there is one more feature that the Lexus TX has that the Toyota Grand Highlander does not, and that is traffic jam assist. So, yeah, I'm actually going to go look for some traffic in Chicago so I can show you this feature. Now, the first thing that you have to do is you do have to set the cruise control. So I've turned the cruise control on, and I'm going to make sure it's set for the speed limit, which is 55. And now we're just going to go find some traffic. I see some brake lights ahead, so I'm optimistic. Plus, this said there was some traffic up here. So, what happens is you could be going the speed limit. You've got your cruise control set at 55 miles an hour. And once the vehicle hits less than 25 miles an hour and you are in a stable location, the vehicle essentially tells you to take your hands off the wheel. So it says, always pay attention behind the wheel to your surroundings, be prepared to take control. So I can be looking at traffic ahead. I've got my hands off the wheel. I'm going to keep them, pretty much right here. But under 25 miles an hour, traffic jam assist allows you to, just kind of sit here while paying attention. And that's definitely a really nice feature if you're driving in rush hour a lot in a city. It just kind of takes a little bit of the pressure off. Now it's telling me to take control of the wheel. I don't know if it's noticing that there is a lane coming in here. I definitely wasn't over 25 miles an hour. So I think it just was sensing, maybe there was some stuff going on and it really wanted me to take an active control. But Traffic jam assist is really excellent when you are in a situation where you're going to be driving in traffic, like I do all the time in Chicago. All right, now it is time for me to get into some brief driving impressions, and yeah, we're just going to start with the TX. As I mentioned at the beginning of the review, this is the base powertrain, the TX 350, and you would think 275 horsepower would be enough, but for me, it is just not. It may be enough for you, so go test it, go verify, but for me, I just wanted a little bit more power for this three-row vehicle. It feels a little bit sluggish, it feels a little bit heavy, and it just doesn't feel as smooth or as seamless as I want on the acceleration and for some of the aggressive driving maneuvers you need to do in a city situation. It's not enough. It's fine. Like, let's be clear here, it's fine. It's just not enough. Now, I did go over some of the safety systems in this briefly, and while I really like them and I appreciate them, I'm going to give you just a little bit of a Jill rant here. Because backing into my garage, the vehicle kind of went a little bit crazy. And it was beeping at everything, it was braking at shadows, and it made me turn my safety systems off. And that is not the point of a safety system. If you have a safety system in a vehicle, it should be usable. So the little traffic assist that you have going on, or the driving assist mode that you have going on, like when you're driving on city streets and the vehicle senses a vehicle in front of you, and so it just starts giving some gentle braking, thumbs up. That works beautifully. But the squawking, the automatic braking is so sensitive in the TX that I turned all of that shit off. I couldn't take it. Every time I was backing into my garage, and then it would like break. I'm just like, holy shit, what just happened here? So that was really aggressive and very unfortunate because I turned it off. So what that means is when I actually need it, it's not going to be available to me. So kid runs behind me and I don't see it, I've turned the safety system off that would have prevented me from hitting that child. You know, somebody like zooms behind me in a parking lot and I'm backing out and I can't see behind the cars around me. The automatic braking that would have stopped me from hitting that car turned off. So I like the safety systems. I want them in vehicles. I want them to work, but I don't want them to be so aggressive and so hypersensitive that it's literally braking at shadows. So that is unfortunate, and that is my Jill rant for this vehicle. I need safety systems that work and that are not as sensitive. But outside of that, I feel like the Lexus TX is a great driving experience. I've got great visibility. It's very smooth. It's very quiet. I don't know if you noticed during some of the filming that I was doing, there was a media helicopter overhead, literally hovering over my vehicle, and I have no idea why, but hovering over my vehicle, making a lot of noise, and especially when I was in the vehicle, did not hear it at all. So super quiet and very comfortable, very luxurious. I have a great driving position and no complaints there. Safety systems, we need some work. All right, moving on to the driving impressions for the Grand Highlander. I mean, frankly, I'll be honest with you, they're not too different. Ride and handling is very similar. Both of these vehicles are big. They are big, and getting into and out of my garage, there were some 3- and 4-point turns happening. I couldn't just smoothly back in. Turning radius isn't good, and they're long vehicles. But outside of that, this is very comfortable on the highway, very comfortable on city streets. I mean, there's no difference there. Where you're going to notice the difference is in the powertrain. Now, I had the TX 350, which came with the regular gasoline powertrain, and this has the Hybrid Max powertrain, so the top tier hybrid, 362 horsepower, and I really, really like this powertrain. If I were going to choose between hybrid and gas with Lexus or Toyota, it would have to be the hybrid powertrain 100% of the time. Not only is it more fuel efficient, but it's just going to be a smoother ride. You stop at a light, your engine shuts off, you don't even notice it, and then you can start moving while your engine is still off. And when it turns back on, you don't notice that either. So this powertrain is far and away the winner. I will say I like the Lexus TX for a lot of the amenities and some of the general looks and features that it has, but in terms of the powertrain, like, you're going to spend a lot more on the TX to get the hybrid powertrain, and I don't know if that is worth it. I mean, yeah. So let's get into pricing, shall we? All right, I was able to print out the sticker sheet for the Grand Highlander that I am sitting in right now, and we should note that this is the top tier platinum trim all-wheel drive. So it has a couple of little options on it, but in terms of this trim itself, it's pretty inclusive of what it comes standard with. So a lot of safety technology, the traffic jam assist, big screens, really nice seating surfaces, and this hybrid powertrain, the Hybrid Max powertrain. So think about that for a second. What do you think that should cost on a Toyota? Do you have that number in your head? Okay, so the as-tested price for this vehicle is $61,705. So just north of $60,000 for this vehicle, which has some really nice surface touch features and technology. And I mean, it's not as nice as the Lexus. Let's be honest, it's not as nice as the Lexus, but the biggest win we have in this vehicle is going to be the powertrain and $61,000. Okay, so we have that number in our head, and you've got to keep in mind the vehicle, the TX that we drove, was not the hybrid powertrain. It was the straight gasoline engine. Did have some nicer features, did have, you know, the 2-person third row and seating surfaces and all that kind of stuff in the third row. So some nicer amenities, and just some of this, the touch points are a little bit nicer in the TX. But exterior, very similar, grille different, but exterior, pretty similar. A lot of the same features, same technologies, that kind of stuff. That was and they didn't have a sticker sheet for me, so I had to price it out on the build and price tool. So that was the luxury all-wheel drive model. So top tier of the TX 350, all-wheel drive. Again, a lot of the same technologies and things like that, some nice seating surfaces, a little bit of a different design, definitely a different grille, and it added the technology package. So some of the things that were included in the platinum trim were not included on the luxury all-wheel drive trim for the TX. So it added the technology package, it added the convenience package, it added the cold package, it added 22-inch wheels, and it added these second row captain's chairs. So that actually was a lot of money for those options. Some of them are $1,000, $2,000. So, all right, knowing that this vehicle we're in right now is $61,000, do you have a price in your head for the TX? Think about it. You can even comment below if you like before we get to the answer. Do you have the number? It is more. I will be honest with you, it is more. But you'd have to decide if you think it's significantly more. The as-tested price for the TX that we were in was $68,515. So about $7,000 more for some premium third row seating surfaces, 2 seats in that third row, but similar technology, similar fit and finish, and, you know, similar exterior facade, same panoramic moonroof. $7,000. You get a better powertrain in the Grand Highlander for $7,000 less. But you do have easier access to the third row and more premium materials, and, I mean, maybe a more finished, better rounded interior design. Is it worth it? I don't know. I'll be honest with you. For me, the powertrain makes it, and I haven't had the chance to drive the up-level powertrain in the TX yet. So I guess for me, for my money, I'd be Grand Highlander all day, every day, and I'd save $7,000. The touch points, I mean, I'm not going to use the third row that much, and if I do, people are going to spill back there anyway, probably. And so I'm not going to use the third row very much, and for me, the touch points in this vehicle, they're fine. They're fine. I don't need to spend the extra $7,000 for the Lexus. What are your thoughts? Again, comment below. All right, that is what I have for you this week on the comparison between the Lexus TX and the Toyota Grand Highlander. Thanks for watching, and I will see you down the road.